ready? Okay, I'm ready now.
Good. That's what makes this even more entertaining. Neither of us are
Oh my
ready.
gosh.
Welcome,
All
listeners.
right.
It's the Muscle Science for Women podcast. Brand
Oh my God.
spanking new, featuring your favorites, me and Rachel.
Ash
Your
and Rach.
favorites. Ash and
Taking over the
Rach,
world.
crushing it. So we're just going to dive right into like the kind of new style, which is airing of grievances, chatting about things that irritate us in the health and fitness world, and also maybe answering some questions and providing some valuable insights.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Before we do get started, just to let everyone know, if you are so inclined to watch us have this conversation, we are on YouTube as well. We'll link that in the description. We are, working on our lighting, and we were talking off air how, we're trying to get to that Joe Rogan level, but it is what it is. So give us your feedback. If you like to watch us, we might have some special guests come in, maybe a dog. Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Maybe we
Maybe
should
a dog.
Should we cut?
No, I think
No.
this is the point. This is the point, okay? And she's out of the picture. She's gone. This is the whole point, okay? I talk a lot with my hands. Rachel just left the screen entirely. This is why you should be watching this on YouTube. This is 100% not getting cut. Okay.
Yeah. And
yeah,
I
but
like
if you
your
like to
robe
watch
in the background. Is that a robe?
It's a robe-like coat. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Listen, it gets cold up here. Have you ever been to Ontario, Canada?
I have not. Okay. Did I tell you that I am a quarter French Canadian?
Yeah, I did know that, and I'm very impressed. How much French do you know?
None.
Okay, we'll work on that. I actually don't know that much either, but I know enough to get by. But that's actually something that I wanted to talk to you about offline, but since we're online, let's talk about it, is, we've been going back and forth about when we're going to get together and like film some more content, do some more stuff for the program. But and we're always saying like, oh, I'll come to San Diego, obviously, because why not? Or like, let's meet in New York because we both have, reasons to be in New York all the time. But you can come up north. You can come to Canada. I would show you a good time. Just don't come in the winter. That's all. Like between the months of like June and October, it is a good time to be in Ontario. So throwing out the invite.
Well, maybe I should come in October because that sounds, or like beginning of October, end of September, and we can like do some stuff.
And if we've got the program running then, which is the plan, we could do some stuff in person. That could be really fun.
All right. We'll book it. We'll figure it out. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, we'll plan that offline. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I was saying, like, in the background, when I was saying the dog, like, if you're watching, there might be like a dog that pops up or like a baby that just randomly appears. Yeah. So like
the baby will just randomly appear. He'll just open that door. He'll crawl in. He'll be like,
he'll come and put on the robe coat.
Exactly. Put on the robe coat. It'll be great. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Moving on. We are setting some lofty intentions for this podcast, and one of them being, we talked about this the first time we tried to record this episode, one of them being is we are hoping to get the one, the only Kim Kardashian on this podcast. We're putting it out into the universe, and the reason we're doing that is because we have a couple questions for her. Namely, what? Why? Why? That's my question. That would be my first question for her. But more specifically...
That's a great question.
More specifically, around her new, I'm going to be the spokeswoman for Beyond Meat when... I said I've never actually like watched the show. Honestly, I'm not trying to be like too cool. I've watched a lot of garbage TV. I just didn't watch any of her stuff. But apparently, like, they have a pretty good history of like crushing barbecue and stuff. Like, but all of a sudden, because probably somebody gave her a ton of money, she's the new spokesperson for Beyond Meat. And I'm not pumped about it. I'm not happy about it. She can do whatever she wants, but I mean, like, you have enough money, dude. Do you have to like trick women into eating garbage now on top of that? Like, just make them buy your underwear, right? Right? Like, no, and I said this offline, like I had a rant on social media because we've talked about this before, and like people can kind of roll their eyes and be like, Ashleigh, maybe you're looking too into this, but I would fight you tooth and nail because I do not think I'm looking too far into this. The way that we gender food, the way that we make certain food more appropriate for women or men based on like the different insecurities that we are trying to hit, you know? So like all of this, women have to eat light and reduced fat, and women have to eat yogurt and salads, and red meat is masculine, and all of this stuff. And there
Oh my
really is, I
gosh.
think, a very strong push for women, especially because we are like the consumers, you know, like we do most of the consuming, the buying of products for our families. We are the ones being pushed this light, healthy, sustainable alternative of like frankenfoods, basically, that are garbage. And she's a perfect example of that. Because, like I said, when I did this rant originally on Instagram, I'm like, I don't think too many dudes are gonna like see Kim Kardashian pretending to eat a Beyond Meat burger and being like, you know what? That seems like a good idea. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
that. Like, no, it's women. It's women who are watching that. And it pisses me off because our whole shtick is trying to get women to, you know, be as healthy as they can be. And I don't think that this
Mhm.
supports that.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of red meat, I think this brings us into something that happened to me. I think it was like a month ago. I went to um, get like an annual physical, just, because it's part of the crazy amount of money I spent on insurance. So I was like, oh
Come to
yeah, it's
Canada.
yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, so I was like, oh, I'll just do it, whatever. And I had a new doctor, and we were going through all like the general stuff, right? All the typical physical stuff, and she started asking me about my diet, and I started just to tell her, I was like, yeah, I eat a lot of protein, and she's like, what kind of protein do you eat? And I was like, oh, like I eat, chicken and red meat and fish and all that stuff, like all the good stuff. And she was like, oh, like how much red meat do you eat? And I'm like, probably like 4 to 6 ounces a day. And she's like literally, this was her. Like her jaw dropped. I'm not kidding you. She was like, oh my God, are you serious? And I was like,
Wow.
yeah. And she's like, oh, like you could see her like typing her notes. She's
You will
like
die
going to type,
tomorrow. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, in my head, I'm just like rolling my eyes because I was like, okay, like I could go off on this right now and just like
Yeah.
rant about it. But then she proceeds to go, did you like, she stops with her notes and she goes, did you know like women your age are only supposed to eat a max of 45 grams of protein a day, 45 grams of protein a day. And so my jaw proceeded to drop. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, sure. And I was like, all right, do I go off? Like, do I do
Yeah.
it? And I was already kind of late for another appointment. So I was just like, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut and just be like, all right, whatever. But I left and I like I went into my like because I have the membership group coaching, and I like did this whole rant in there. I was like, ladies, listen to what just happened to me. Like, this is why you can't take nutrition advice from a conventional doctor unless they have previous, you know,
Mm-hmm.
nutrition training, because that is just in my opinion, that's malpractice. Like literally telling someone that they should be eating a max of 45 grams of protein a day, like
That
a
doesn't even
female.
sound, that sounds like less than even like the survival amount, like the RDA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, so like she, first of all, it's not correct information because it is less than the RDA, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, the RDA, like you said, is based off of what is the amount that you need to eat to literally just survive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is not what we want. We want to thrive. We want to
Mm-hmm.
be optimal, right? And like, don't even, go down the red meat path, right? Because that probably would have been a whole other thing. But just the fact that she said that, I was just like, this is ridiculous. And this is why I think when we talk about this all the time, like when we work with clients, we have women coming to us, especially for any woman that I start to work with who is not already kind of in this space and like has listened to us before, they are severely under eating protein. Like that's like the biggest thing, right? And so once we change that just makes everything so much easier in terms of just what they're doing, building muscle, being overall healthy, hair not falling out, joints feeling better, all that jazz. So yeah, I was just kind of blown away, and I was like, this is wrong. Like, this is not okay.
I have some
So yeah,
questions for you.
yeah.
So, in the context of her being the worst and telling you that you're gonna like die from eating too much protein, did she also say like, but you obviously look healthy, your like weight is fine, your digestion is fine, your blood markers are fine, your blood pressure is fine? Like, was she like, yeah, despite the fact that I think what you're doing is terrible, you are the picture of health? Like, did she acknowledge any of that?
Not real. Well, basically, she said at the end, I mean, I had gotten my labs done like just right before I came, so we didn't have any of those back. But there was like no issues or anything like that, and like I had perfect lab. Like all the stuff was normal, all that stuff. I didn't have like considered high cholesterol, anything like that. And I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
she was just looking at total cholesterol, which we know you can't just look at that. But I didn't have any of those markers that were out of the conventional ranges or anything like that. So yeah, none of that was said, and I think it just kind of shows like that this is not. I don't know. This is not
Yeah.
okay. I'm
Yeah.
like getting mad about it again.
So
I'm
are
like pissed.
you going back to this doctor, or what are you going to
Oh
do?
no, definitely not.
So then what happens though? Do you just kind of search for another doctor, or are you going to see
Well,
like a functional medicine person, or what are you going to do?
yeah, like I don't really go to the doctor
Yeah.
like ever. And this is probably like this is the first time I've had a physical, and I'm sure like, I don't recommend this. Like you should get a physical every year, right? Just to check things. And if something's coming up and whatever things are, you're noticing something, like you should, go to doctor, go to like get checked up. But if it's something specific and it's like related to preventative medicine, right? Where we're looking to like optimize your health and like look at the actual markers that we want, like the ones that are going to be more of the functional ranges versus like the conventional ranges. And I'm not like an expert in this, so we could probably talk a little bit more about that, or maybe we'll have like in the future have guests on that are functional medicine doctors, and we can ask them about this stuff. But I think that for me it's just I went to that appointment because it was like it was part of my insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I have any other issues, I probably will just have go to a functional doctor, or talk to people who actually do this for a living, and look at the whole picture, not just what one marker says on a lab, or follow like old advice from or old markers from the RDA that are like
Yeah.
completely out of date and not based off of like legitimate research, really.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the lessons that we can take from this, again, like people like to go very black and white with this stuff. So some people might be like, traditional doctors are the worst and they just want to kill you and make you sick. And you should, just sit outside in your bare feet and eat raw liver and never go to the doctor. Maybe that's not the right answer. I think that what we need to remember with any kind of healthcare professional is like, what is their job? So a
Mm-hmm.
traditional doctor, especially somebody who like a family doctor or whatever, somebody who's been around for a long time, they aren't nutritionists. They don't study that. They don't understand. They're usually like behind the eight ball with that more than the average person who's reading about it. That's not what their expertise is. And like I think about a similar kind of scenario because I also never go to the doctor unless there's like something wrong with me. So
Mm-hmm.
last year when I was pregnant and I had, I was having a baby and I didn't go to a doctor, I went to a midwife, but I was getting like blood taken and all this stuff and getting checked like more than I had in like my entire life previous because I've been fortunate, to not have to have gone to a doctor much. But in my decision of deciding to go with a midwife versus an OB is OBGYN doctors, they are so important. They are surgeons. They will get a baby out of you if there is an emergency or if your life is in danger or the baby's life is in danger. Thank God we are in a time when those people exist and they can do that stuff. But if I am having a healthy pregnancy and I'm planning to have a low intervention birth, I know things can change. Why would I put myself in the care of a surgeon who that's their mindset? Their mindset is get the baby out the quickest, easiest way possible,
Mm-hmm.
when I want to get the baby out the most natural, least medicalized way possible. So I'm going to go with the expert at getting babies out that way. And that's what a midwife is. And that's the experience that I had. And I think it also goes back to, you and I were talking about this offline, like the idea of advocating for yourself and feeling like you can speak up, because again, it seems like in this day and age, we either think that doctors are quacks and terrible, or we think that they know better than us in everything all the time, and you can't ever ask a question. And as we know, the answer is in the middle, right? Doctors have a lot of knowledge, and most of them are very good, and they want to help you, but they have limited knowledge. And even if they have more knowledge than you are allowed to ask them questions. You're allowed to challenge things. You're allowed to say, well, I read this, or I heard this, or I'm trying this and it's working and I'd like your feedback, whatever. And if you have a doctor who shuts you down or tells you you're nuts or tells you whatever, you also have the ability to kind of seek out guidance elsewhere, right? Like that's, and I think that just knowing that you're allowed to ask questions, question authority, I think that that's an important thing for us to remember.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I just think like my issue is just like the blanket statements, like, women are not supposed to have greater than 45 grams. Like if I didn't have the knowledge that I have, I would have been like, I should probably, go eat a lot less protein. But so that's what I was saying. Like it's kind of malpractice to me because, we see all the issues that come with not eating enough protein specifically for women. And especially as you age, we know that as you age, protein becomes even more important. So yeah, I mean, I don't think we should say like, hey, all doctors suck, because no, like we just have to, you know, realize what their specialty is. And, if they don't have any prior nutrition training, which some do, right? Especially now, I feel like doctors that we know now have gone and actually taken the extra step to get certifications in nutrition and, study that stuff and be up to date with that. So, obviously those aren't the ones we're talking about, but yeah, definitely, be your own advocate, do your own research, that is something that, you need to do for yourself too, because I can promise you, like, probably 90% of the conventional doctors that you would go to only have like a few hours of nutrition, expertise or whatever it may be. Not expertise, but a few hours of nutrition training when they go through that. So yeah, I mean, ask questions and also get second opinions and third opinions and all that jazz, just like everybody always tells you probably. So yeah.
Yeah. And don't, let's not vilify anything outright, but it's about getting somebody who matches their expertise, matches the issue that you're having, right? Like if you've got, I don't know, tendinitis, you're not going to see a gut health person and vice versa. Like go seek out the resources that are going to align with what the issue is that you're having. Yeah, and I mean, I do think honestly, it is different in the States than in Canada. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I've dealt with both medical systems, and like I guess one of the arguments you can make for the American one, I don't think there's many, but one is like if you have the money, you can get the best care in the world. But most of us, a lot of people don't have that kind of money. And the second opinion thing is big because when I first moved to New York, which was a million years ago now, but when I first moved to New York and I was in my like mid 20s, and that was when CrossFit was like just getting big. And of course I joined a CrossFit gym and that's how I made like my first friends in New York. Don't regret it. But I went to a like CrossFit strongman cert. So it's like where you're learning to like lift the heavy, like the Atlas stones and like all kinds of crazy stuff, which was super fun. I really liked it. But I severely injured myself like the first day of this workshop by basically, it was tire flips, really heavy tire flips. And it was just poor form. And I basically tried to like bicep curl like a 400-pound tire or something. And like something in my shoulder ripped. And that started like a year-long process through the New York City medical system and physical therapy and all those things. But the long story short is that I had an appointment with a doctor, a surgeon, whatever, who told me that I had like a labral tear and would need surgery. And everybody knows how intense and awful and involved that surgery is. And I went and got a second opinion and an MRI and everything. And the person was like, no, you have like a floating chip of a bone that kind of whatever, and it's going to be reabsorbed and it's like soft tissue and you need to go to PT for 6 months and you'll be fine. And I was. So if I didn't get a second opinion or ask a question or say like, hey, I want to think about this. If I had just said like, oh, you're the doctor. Okay, like sign me up for the surgery. Things would have gone very, very differently. So yeah, always ask questions. Always get a second opinion.
Yeah. 100%. I made that mistake too. This was with a dentist though, that I went to when I was living in Miami. So yeah, it's not just like it's all the things, right? Always get a second opinion. Always, if something's like seems off to you and you're like, I don't know about this, like go with that, go with your gut. So yeah.
Before we go, cause I think we can keep this one short and sweet. What did you think about living in Miami? Did you like it? I mean, obviously it's kind of like you were there for school, right?
Yeah, I was there for school, but then I went back after grad school.
Okay. Are
So
you like, are you over it now, or would you like to live there again, or what do you think?
I don't know, like I like Florida, but I'm over the traffic. I'm over having to drive everywhere, especially living in San Diego where I'm at, I can just walk everywhere. So it's kind of like a mini Manhattan, which is where I grew
Mm,
up. Um, but I mean, I'm going back or yeah, I'm back in Florida for July for vacation for a week. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I would move back there.
mm,
I like the weather, but then it gets really humid and hot.
yeah.
So I might just hang out in San Diego for a while and
Yeah.
you
I
know,
don't blame you.
yeah,
Before we knew each other, my husband and I took a like 3 week vacation because that's what we could do before we had kids. Anyway,
yeah,
we like to go places and like just live there for like 3 weeks, a month, whatever. And we did that in San Diego, and it was a pretty good time. We did lots of like jogs along a boardwalk and like bike riding
yeah,
and stuff, and the weather was really good. Yeah.
yeah. Well, you should come back and hang
Yeah,
out
I'm
with me.
definitely planning on it. I'm thinking like we're going through the process of like where are we going to go next winter, because like I told you, Ontario in the summer, hot, sunny, beautiful. Ontario in the winter, frozen, hellscape, nightmare. So we're trying to get out of here. We're trying to debate where. We've got a couple places up in the air, so I'll keep you posted on that. But anyway, and if
That
anybody
would be
who's
so dope.
listening,
Yeah.
because we want some feedback. Anybody who's listening, if you have some suggestions for me about where we should spend our winter, hit me up. And then any other actual pertinent questions that you have for us related to
Yeah.
the podcast, related to fitness, nutrition, health, wellness, we will
Yeah.
talk about them on the podcast. Like, send us a message on social media. You can find me on Instagram at the Muscle Maven, and Rachel, you are.
RachelGregory.cns on
Yes,
Instagram and TikTok. Trying to
yes. Get
bring
on there.
TikTok to the
Oh boy.
oh boy.
Oh boy.
Wait, I have a question too, and
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, I don't know. I was just gonna ask, like, we have a sponsor for this podcast, or are we
That's a
not talking about
really good
that?
question.
Okay.
That's a really good question, and I forgot. But we do. We do have a sponsor, because we are so awesome and everyone loves us. We have a sponsor. The sponsor is Optimal Carnivore. I'm just going to look up right now what the actual like discount code and fanciness is for you.
Okay.
Did you get your products, by the way?
I did, and I've been
Okay.
taking the not the liver one, because there's a one that's liver, the all encompassing organ one for like the
Yes.
past week.
Okay.
And I've basically replaced kind of like my multivitamin that I was taking before, with that, because I mean, we can talk all about supplements too, probably next episode.
Yeah.
I am in a deficit right now, pretty aggressive with my video shoot that I'm prepping for. So I'm just kind of trying to optimize everything. So I'm taking, more supplements than I would typically take if I was, eating at maintenance or whatever you want to call it. And we can talk about that in the next episode. But yeah, I've been taking them, and
Cool. Yeah.
yeah,
It would be a good idea actually for us to if we're being good sponsors and transparent people, to actually like take these pretty, religiously for a while and actually like keep track of how it feels. So for people who are like, what is Optimal Carnivore? They make supplements that are essentially whole food supplements, but with some other like kind of nootropics and mushrooms and tasty stuff. But it's basically like organ meat supplements. So for people who don't want to eat it, but they want the benefits because they've been listening to me and they know how important liver is, but you're like, look, I'm not going to eat this, so I don't blame you. Optimal Carnivore has a range of products, and they're good. I mean, like you said, we've only been trying them for a few weeks, but they're really, really high quality, grass-fed, organic, good stuff. And they have different formulas for different things. There's sort of like a brain-focused one, and then there's the sort of just overall health supplement. That's the beef organs. That's the one I personally recommend.
that's what I'm
somebody,
taking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I recommend for anybody who is like kind of just getting started to this, because I think of it as like essentially a multivitamin. Like it's just the most nutrient dense food you can eat in a capsule form. So that's it. But anyway, the discount is, I don't think it's a very cool one. It's Muscle Muscle SCI, because Muscle Science was too
long.
So Muscle Sci will get you 10% off. And
Sweet.
we'll put all the details and the link and all the fancy stuff in the show notes. And we'll be posting about this stuff on social media too, because I am going to start taking the brain one like religiously and see if it makes me smarter. because
Yeah, I want to know that too. And I have that too, but I haven't started it yet. So,
yeah. So thank you to Optimal Carnivore, and thank these
yes.
guys for like basically just hitting the ground running with us with this new podcast, because they obviously know what I'm about. They know I'm like a big organ meat person, but I told them, look, we're doing this big pivot with the podcast. We want to reach more women. We want to get women strong and healthy and eating protein and maybe even eating organ meats. And they were like, we're on board. So we appreciate those guys a lot. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh God. Anyway,
I was like, I should probably mention something, but then like, I don't know.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. All right. So like we said, reach out to us, please. Rate, review if you're liking it, share it with anybody you think could benefit, and send us your questions, comments, feedback about the podcast, how it's going so far. Be gentle. We're 2 episodes in, but we'd love to hear from you. So let us know, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yes. Bye.